Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories.
What's up, man?
What's up? Dude, where to begin?
Cool to be here at the HQ of the JobTread empire.
Yeah, appreciate you coming to speak at our boot camp. And
That's cool, man. Great group of people.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I was telling you earlier before we started this thing how cool it is that you have everybody come in here and get them coached up on the software. And how many users you got now? Like 4 million or something? Where you at?
Well, we track it more by number of companies. So it's like 7,100 companies now.
Sweet.
I think it's like 40-something thousand like internal users as employees. And then it's, I don't know, probably like 1 million external subs, clients, things like that.
Awesome, man. Good stuff.
Yeah. So look, what I'm you and I go way back. I don't know. Like I was saying, I think I joined Contractor fighting
or something.
I had like 4,000 members.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome to see the growth of that group and just what you've been able to build, man. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's funny, all right, so here's what's funny. I was on the plane ride here and I was looking on Facebook and I was like, we got 20,000 something people, right? And then I started looking at other Facebook groups in the trades and some of them are like 500,000 people and all this other stuff. But what's funny is when we started the Facebook group, you had to own your crap.
Yep.
Within 24 hours, we kicked you out. So we've actually kicked out more people that are in it. And then if you're kind of a dirtbag or something like that in the group, we kick you out now because I'd rather have better conversations, but dude, it's like 2 full-time jobs for our team to manage that group. So I don't know what to do with it. But my point is you used to own your crap and then Facebook almost shut us down because they said we were bullying people.
I remember that.
And so the group's weird. I have a love-hate relationship with the Facebook group.
It's a lot of work, and we got to figure out what's the right balance of, kind of policing it versus just letting it naturally.
Well, what I didn't want is I didn't want the free group to become what I think so many groups are, where guys are just posting pictures of their work and going, look how great I am, and people rip on their work and all this other stuff, right? I wanted it higher level conversations around growing your business, not about the actual, what saw blade do you use? It's like, whatever. But overall, a lot of great people in it. And that thing's been going since I think 2019, 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I think back when I first joined it, I mean, that was, I was running a construction company. I mean, I learned a lot just being able to see other people's conversations and the challenges they were having. Right. And, you're chiming in and your coaches are chiming in. People are kind of just naturally, helping each other. I'd say that, even some of the, the JobTread Pros Facebook group, I mean, I still remember the day where like, man, do we create this Facebook group? Like, what's going to happen? Are we going to get all of our, users and clients in there? They're just going to, feature requests after feature requests, a bunch of complaining. And, I was just like, man, like, look at the contractor fight and just how it's such a great resource to so many people. It gives them that like reminder that they're not in this alone.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It is a lot of work and it's not a perfect group, but I think it's a little higher quality than the average contractor Facebook group. But so you brought up users being like idea after idea. How do you vet those, man? Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so, we actually, I mean, and so I'm kind of the primary, or I used to be the primary Facebook group manager, just like yourself used to be. And, I was every time I saw these ideas, I used to go and like log them and kind of create them in our, in our development tracking system. And, got to the point there where just like I was getting overwhelmed with the amount of like feedback. I mean, it's great feedback, and you want to track it and you want to understand how many people this affects and like, but I got to the point where like I needed a better way. And so we implemented what we call our feature request board. And so that allows the users to go in and, the goal is to get them to search and to find, does that already exist as a feature request, and then just go upvote it. If they want to make an add their own little commentary about how that would benefit them or why or things like that. But really that's been a huge, just kind of help to allow anyone to go create their own feature request. And then we still review and we'll publish them. So, everything kind of goes into a pending status. We did also have to put a limit on the number of feature requests any given user can submit and have pending at one time. Otherwise, some people would probably create hundreds of them. But, it's been so helpful, though, to really be able to see and sort that. We can sort it by priority or by, most popular, if you will, highest number of votes. And so like that directly influences our development roadmap. And it's just invaluable. We, just keep knocking the things off the top. And
yeah, I asked because we were talking before we hit record, like being founders, entrepreneurs, we have all these ideas. And just because you have an idea and you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And we get ideas in the fight all the time about our programs and this. And I think one of the things I've learned, you probably learned as well, is there are unintended consequences of some things that you do, right? Like if you don't really, and sometimes people give me a hard time because we're slow to make some changes with some things, but we're trying to, like, I'm a pull the trigger first guy, and my team, they like put the brakes on things. They're like, well, we thought about this and how it's going to impact this. And so how do you do that? I'm interviewing you now. What the hell's going on? I can't tell you, but I'm curious, like, how many ideas do you have a day?
A lot.
So how do you determine if you're going to pursue?
I think I would say I've adopted kind of Casey, my co-founder's sort of philosophy on it, is that the things that keep coming up, those are the good ideas you need to pursue.
Yeah.
If you have an idea one day, you throw it out there to whoever, nobody ever brings it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's kind of just a fleeting idea, but it's the things that truly do, I think, have merit and have potential and have some, have some real, value to them.
Yeah.
They keep coming up.
They keep popping up.
Whether, I remember it again or someone else, hey, someone brought up, and it really, I think it doesn't matter where the idea came from. One of our big beliefs is just like, may the best idea always win, and I want anyone and everyone to feel comfortable bringing that idea up. But at the end of the day, like, anyone should be able to, agree or disagree, and we can debate it. And, it's how you kind of sort of flush out, in a healthy manner. And so I think it's the things that, if enough people get behind it, support it, keeps coming up, those are the ideas you pursue.
Yeah. With us in the fight, our team they haven't said this to me, but I know this is what happens because I have ideas every day, every week, right? They ignore me until I bring something up multiple times over a couple months. And then they're like, okay, this is something it's important or serious about looking into. So yeah, we have a couple things that we did, like our contractor business school that we started in January of 2025. Like that had been on my radar for probably a year and a half.
Tell us about that. What?
Yeah, well, it's designed for guys that aren't doing $500,000 yet. One of the things with the fight is we want to bring respect and dignity back to the trades. And I don't believe, like, I know there's tons of great training companies out there. Like, so I'm just saying our lane, we just really love the smaller, newer contractor because I believe we can help them the most, the fastest.
Yep.
And so we, like our Battleground program is really designed to get you to $1 million. But you got to get to 250, 500 and all that other stuff. And we just didn't have it. Like we have all our free content, which helped them, but we didn't have an official program. So it's like $1,000 for the year. And they get all of our courses, and then they get a live Q&A with me once a month where they can hop on, and I'll sit there and answer every question. We have several hundred contractors in it, all different trades. And but that was one of those things that I just kept. My wife's a horse trainer, and she's like, you have your amateur, professional, whatever riders, and that you have what they call an underbelly or an undersaddle program for like younger riders. Sure. She kept saying, you have to create this for the fight. You need that official roadmap for them to get to $500,000, then get to $1 million. And then, so we have Contractor Business School, we have Battleground, and then we have War Room for those that want to get up to, 8 figures and all that. So,
I think that's so important though, because, if you think about it, like And if you even just look at the economy in the United States, I mean, and the bulk of all businesses are small businesses.
Yeah.
They're entrepreneurs. They're solo owner operators who, I mean, every single business had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And they started right there at the bottom, on the ground level, building their way up. And I think that it's often very underserved. Everyone wants to be out there and, tries to service and chase the biggest contractors and the people making, the most money because they think they can make the most money from that. And, it's easier to have, a few clients paying you a whole lot of money than to have thousands of clients paying you, a much smaller amount of money. But I think one of the things that I've always really respected about what you guys are doing, and, I'd say to the same extent, we focus on the small guys too. I think so many times they're getting left behind and they're not getting that support that, again, I mean, you and I have had mentors and coaches throughout our careers, but if you don't know somebody, if you hadn't had that, that good fortune, that luck to find somebody in your life who can help guide you, then so many people just burn out and quit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe the stat is less than 5% of home improvement contractors even get to $500,000.
I'm not surprised.
And I mean, dude, I want to say they're on the books. If we ask AI or whatever, there's 3.7 million contractors in the United States. I think it's more. I mean, shooting Colorado Springs where I live, there's 2,500 painting companies alone right there, And so, yeah, I think a lot of these guys think they got to have a lot of money to get help and stuff. And that was just one of our values was, we want to help, even if it's free, we want to help, and of course, you know this, you've hired coaches and mentors, you can consume things on YouTube, read books or whatever, but you pay for speed. You pay to collapse time.
Yep.
And to go from A to B quicker. And that's why I hire coaches and stuff, because I want to get from here to there a little faster than I would on my own.
Yeah.
And it's always paid off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm we got to do something that's $1,000 a year. That's just a no-brainer.
I love it.
And even our Battleground, I mean, at this point now, it's only $8,000 a year for that. And which it's $22 a day or some crap like that. If you think about it, it's how much money are we all blowing in our lives on a daily basis?
Yeah.
So that was one of the foundational things when we started this thing is I really wanted to make our price point a no-brainer to where the value far exceeds you guys do. I mean, because what do you guys charge now?
It's $199 a month plus $20 per user. I mean, we hadn't increased our price in over 3 years.
It's dirt cheap. No, it really is for everything that you get. You guys keep evolving and, I'm walking around your headquarters here. I mean, the support staff you have is crazy. And what do you call it? The customer success department? Felt like there were 80 people back there when we walked in there.
Yeah.
But that's why you're able to continue to grow and all that, because you keep reinvesting in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it is, you and I both share there's a huge opportunity. It's an enormous market, and we want to make the biggest impact that we possibly can on the most number of people, the most number of businesses.
Yeah.
And, I really appreciate though, and you mentioned earlier, you have put out more content, more free education than anybody else I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, you have podcasts, YouTubes, all of the videos, everything that you just continually do. I mean, I don't even know how you do it all, to be honest. You must spend half your day behind a camera recording, and you've probably got a team of people that doesn't let you leave the recording studio or something. But it's gotten out there in millions of views, millions of people. You'll never even know the true impact of this content.
No, and dude, it's funny because yesterday before I flew here, I was talking to somebody on the team. I said we could probably go 2 years without having to record any content if we just repurpose what we had.
Yeah.
At least 2 years. I think if you include shorts and long form and all that on YouTube, we're probably up over 2,000 videos. The podcast is over 1,000. That's on the Contractor Fight podcast. It's 11 or 1,200 right now. But if you remember, we used to have the Contractor Sales podcast that has over 100 or 200 or something as well. So all in, and we stopped recording that and moved it all under one roof. But yeah, I mean, And it's funny, like I get hit up all the time from, we'll just say people, like, we can edit your videos and we could do this and you could be getting so many more views and you're not doing the YouTube best practices and all this other garbage. And I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm here to educate. Yeah. I guess by default I'm a YouTuber, but it's like, that's not my main business. And so, yeah, you're like, I don't know how you do it. Well, we put out a lot of bad content for a lot of years, and it's still up there. No. And what's, was it Zig Ziglar said, you got to be willing to do something and be really bad at it before you can be good at it or something. It was one of those guys, right? But that's the thing. And we're always encouraging contractors, pull out a phone out on your job and just show us.
They all know they need to do it, but why don't they do it?
Yeah.
Why are people so scared to get behind video?
All right. Well, let's think of our audience here. Contractors in general, craftsmen, high quality. So the thought of them just not having a blueprint or a plan and, the best equipment and all these other things, I think that's part of it. Yeah. I think part of it is also they're just, there's the fear of putting themselves out there. What are people going to think? There's, they say they don't have time, which is BS. Because, we had a guy, builds water features. I'll just leave it at that. Like, he just goes live on his job site. Alan Decker Pondscapes, right? In New York, he sells a ton of work every year just because he goes live and he's like, hey, we're digging this hole here right now. He just turns the camera on, points, and we're going to put the waterfall here. We're going to do this. And he kind of shows and says hi to the crew and this and that's not even edited. And he posts it and he's like, we'll be back in a few days to show you what it looks like. And then we'll turn the water on or something, right? And like, he'll have people that are moving from across the country to where his area is that are reaching out because they're on Facebook looking at the area and they see his stuff and they're like, hey, we're moving in 2 months. We want you to build a thing for us. And it was free. It's a free lead.
No.
So we're already, it's like content, blogs, videos. Marcus Sheridan. So they ask you answer and endless customers and all that, which you have the book right there, which is cool. You're having these conversations all day, every day with clients, your team, this and that. Just record it.
No.
Just show us what you're doing. I don't know. I'm not crazy with this, but there's so much money being left on the table because I think the average contractor is fearful. They lack discipline. And again, I'm not ripping on them. Like, we all have these issues from time to time. I'm just saying what holds them back. It's not really like trying to put all things on an equal playing field with their time.
Sure.
And you can't do that. You got to really dial in, like, when I spend time on doing this, it moves the needle versus when I do this. Not everything is equal priority.
So you've really developed an entire series of programs to take someone from day one's, the very beginning, all the way through, starting with, the free content, kind of, learning, going at their own pace to then getting into the contractor business school. Mm. You graduate, go up to Battleground, to War Room. So how does someone know, when they're at the right stage to enter into these new programs? How do they kind of, can you see this point where they're ready to kind of graduate, if you will, and take it to the next level?
Yeah, it's funny. We've had a ton of people that even just started their businesses out that joined, that were doing zero revenue or up to even $100,000 to their first year or whatever, that actually jumped into Battleground and won big time, even though they weren't at the higher revenue.
Sure.
I think it really comes down to the individual, how hungry they are. Are they implementing? JobTread is no good if you don't use it, right? The knowledge you read in a book is no good if we don't implement it.
Nope.
So coaching, training, whatever. So I think I've seen people that accidentally have run $1 million business and they're the most undisciplined people in the world and they're stuck on the hamster wheel. They're never going to change. They're never going to get any better because they won't look in the mirror and own their crap.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very individual thing. But we also, that's why we do so much interaction and conversations with our members and all of our programs and our coaches and me and this and that. Like, it's an open door. Like when I do these lives, even for the Contractor Business School, I'm like, we'll have guys get on and are like, how do I know I'm ready to hire my first employee? How do I know I'm ready for the next level? And blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of it is, where do you want to go? What pain and problems are you willing to tolerate and to put into your life to go to the next level?
Yep.
So I think all these things factor in. Like, I don't judge somebody's definition of success because it's their definition.
Sure.
I know a guy does $300,000 a year, pays himself $180, works like 3 to 4 days a week, and he's happy as can be. Like, and he has no desire to want to scale. So he's good where he's at.
Yeah.
You know? How would you answer that question?
What was the question again?
About how do you know when somebody's ready to go next level on something?
You know, I think a lot of it is, it's like what you're saying. They need to show the initiative and the drive and the desire to take themselves to the next level. You know, I think it's a lot of times, we can train them all day long. We can show them how to do things all day long. But if they don't want to do it and they don't do it, if they don't hold themselves accountable, then I think it can be, it gets to a point where it feels like, well, we're just kind of pushing you, instead of like, look, we want to lead you, but like, you got to follow, you got to go and implement and take the action. And so, I think it's, I would say we're definitely fortunate that, when people do sign up for JobTread, they've kind of made the commitment. I mean, they're putting some skin in the game. I think that it is important at some point that, you can give everything away for free and then people don't appreciate and value it enough. Regardless what the cost is, I think there's, something to be said when you've got skin in the game. And so I think for us, it's just making sure they're ready. And then,
what's that old saying? Those who pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I've had coaches been way north of, for me personally, way north of 6 figures a year, man. And I can tell you, I'm like paying attention. I'm dialing it in. I'm doing what I'm coached because it hurts.
Yeah.
I think hunger is such an important part of it. I mean, you're growing like crazy with JobTread. And I'm using that as an example. I think one of the other factors that keeps contractors stuck is they achieve that next level of whatever their success is, and then they get comfortable.
Yeah.
And that you start to read your own press clippings and believe that's the hype and to believe you've arrived.
Yeah.
And cool, if that's where you want to be, great, but don't bitch about not being at the next level if you're going to take your foot off the gas. And so I've always found it I don't know if this is healthy or not, but I'm never satisfied.
Yeah. People would say the same about me.
Right. And so we could have a record month and I'm like, well, we're supposed to. I mean, we're all here if we're all doing our thing.
Yeah.
So I think hunger is something we don't talk about as much, the power of necessity. Like, why do I need to succeed? Why do I need to win? What's at stake? I mean, I just talked to your people here today and it was awesome. And I was talking about like, what is the cost of you not showing up, bringing everything you have every day? And sometimes bringing everything you have is an effort thing. Sometimes it's humility. Sometimes it's shutting your mouth long enough to learn something new. Sometimes it's putting in one more of something. I mean, how do you stay hungry? Like, are you a guy that when you started JobTread, you put out one of those big, crazy, hairy, audacious visions and that's what you're chasing and that keeps you hungry and rounded, or is it something else?
Yeah. I mean, we set out to make JobTread the standard for construction management, and we can't, if we only had, 1,000 people use it, I mean, that's no standard. I mean, we need to get this into tens of thousands and then eventually hundreds of thousands of people's hands, all over the world to truly be that standard. I think at the end of the day, though, like, what I've learned, and again, I've been very fortunate to have already sold a business. Like, you got to know your why, like your purpose, like what is the mission, the vision, like where and why are you doing the things that you're doing? Like, why, do you get up every single day to go, work your butt off to just deal with, fire after fire, challenge after challenge, like, and hopefully not everyone in the business has to deal with all the, the hardest problems, but like, I think at the end of the day, I always see the potential to do more, to keep growing, to keep helping, to keep making a bigger impact. And, it's something that, I try to help other contractors see too. Like, they got to know their why. Like, why are you passionate about helping, contractors or helping, homeowners, improve their home?
Yeah.
Like, are you impacting their lives? Is that like you see how you're helping them live a happier, a healthier life? You're, creating more, family. Like,
Yeah.
Because I mean, man, being a contractor is not an easy job.
No.
Yeah, it is it can be a beatdown. And it's, a very underappreciated, job that, I think a lot of times, in the hardest times, like, you got to be able to fall back on, like, remembering why you're doing the things you're doing.
Yeah. You got to fight for your worth. I mean, that's why we called it the contractor fight. You got to fight the fight between your ears. But I think, like, to your point, like, it's easy for the world. I grew up hearing you got to go to college, all that other crap, right? It was like propaganda my whole life.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, like, I was on a board of a bank for a few years. There was a bank back in Illinois. I was on the board of this bank. It was a long story. We would look at certain cases that would come across the board that needed approval and stuff. Dude, there were more blue collar millionaires that came across that board than there were white collar ones. And whenever, like, the majority of the homes that would be foreclosed on and bankruptcies and stuff were people that were like white collar, crazy amount of doctors, like, it blew my mind. And so I love what I'm seeing online. There's all this blue collar stuff and all this Instagram and YouTube, which is cool, right? Like, the more of it, the better, because I think painting the picture of the success that you can have in the trades is amazing. But you have to fight for your value. I mean, and my point was this: take us away for a week. Take contractors, plumbers, roofers, painters, drywall guys, take them all away for a week and see how the country runs, man. Yeah. and so, we're always encouraging people to remember that they're adding massive value. Like, you should be paid more. Now, you should not be paid more in the absence of value.
Yeah.
Right? The value should exceed what you make, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. That's why we do so much free content and all. I would just want to give this value. But if you're ethical, which most of these people are, good men and women, ethical, then you have to get paid.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be the broke contractor. I'm so tired. Like, I feel like, crazy comparison, I feel like Dave Ramsey, because all Dave Ramsey does is talk about the baby steps of getting out of debt. And I'm like, my version of that is raise your prices, get a 50% gross profit, pre-qualify your leads, don't mess with the money, blah, blah, blah. It's just the broken record, because I think we've been brainwashed to think that we have to be competitive. This with your software, 90% of contractors don't know their numbers.
Yeah.
So why the hell would we try to be competitive when most people don't know their numbers? Why, like, bidding the going rate. That's the thing about these Facebook groups that drive me crazy. Like, hey, what's the going rate for this?
No.
And I always go cost of goods times at least 2. Because that's your number.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I guess it works out.
So, I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit about this book? It's second book, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unafraid. What inspired it? What's it about?
There's a lot of all right, well, what inspired it? In the intro, I basically talk about how most salespeople suck. Like, I'm just personally tired of dealing with crappy salespeople. I tell a story in the book of, my wife and I, our second marriage for both of us, we wanted to get married. We had this place picked out that overlooked the Garden of the Gods and all this beautiful scenery in Colorado Springs a few years ago. Scheduled an appointment. We went in there, and this wedding sales planner person, she's like, I'm telling you, dude, we walk in, introduces us, we sit down, she slides the packages in front of us and goes, which one do you want? And Lee and I, my wife, looked at each other and we're like, WTF? Yeah. Like, was the look on our face? Like, she didn't ask one question. Had she just said, and this is a wedding, so it's more the woman, right? Had she looked at my wife to be and said, Lee, wave a magic wand over your wedding day, tell me about it. She would have oozed and gushed for 15 or 20 minutes and would have sold herself on the place. But this woman's arrogance and her nonchalant attitude, and there was no desire for connection. I had the checkbook ready to write the deposit.
Yeah.
It was not going to be cheap. We actually went to another place down the road that wasn't as nice because of the way they treated us. Or I tell a story in the book, we were doing a floor in our basement and this sales guy made all these assumptions about what was expensive to us. And he never asked one question about why I was doing the floor. Had he said, why, hey, what's motivating you to do the epoxy or whatever you want in the basement, right? He would have heard me talk for an hour of how I broadcast to hundreds of thousands of contractors around the world. This place has to look amazing. We have plans for granite here and copper here and this here and blah, blah, blah. But they just don't ask any questions.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. And then having coached so many contractors and seeing, like, when we teach them how to listen and to peel back the motive and talk about money and all these other things up front, you save so much time and you actually elevate the experience for everybody. Dude, I spoke at this event many years ago. And this is another reason I wrote the book. I was the first speaker of this event. There's 500 or so contractors in the room. I couldn't believe this happened. The guy introducing me, I'm the first official speaker of the conference. It's like a 2-3 day thing. And he says, I want you to talk about sales. And I go, cool. Right? He gets up and somebody else was on stage with him. For 10 minutes, they're talking about sales is a numbers game. It's all about proposals. You got to get proposals on the street. If you got to write proposals. Like, for 10 minutes, that was like the introduction to me. I'm like, do you even know me? And so I swear to God, dude, they go, Tom Reber, music plays. I walk up on the stage. I get out of the middle of the stage and I'm about to hit my first slide. And I go, well, this is really awkward. And I hit the button. My first slide says, you're not in the proposal writing business. But that's what so many contractors think it's about, is just got to write bids. And of course, there's a numbers game to anything.
Sure.
But what is the cost in your time and your sanity and just the lack of respect that people have for us? Like the whole just swing by and leave a bid in the mailbox for the fence, Fight me, so we got to fight for that respect. And I believe success in sales comes down to your personal discipline more than any scripts or word tracks. It's human connection. It's really caring about people. I mean, I would say if I had to nail down one thing that's helped me sell more than anything I've ever done in my whole life, is I actually care. And I know contractors care.
Yeah.
I actually care more about you getting what you need, even if it's not me, because that's the right thing to do. And so lots of stories in it. Talk about hunting, too many if you're a salesperson and you're not hunting, prospecting, whatever you want to call it, I think you're a poser. I don't think you're serious about it. I think you're just nothing more than an order taker. And that's, again, there's always gray area.
Sure. Because
it could be your business model, like setter, closer, or whatever. You might have, leads come in, you got a marketing department, and your job as an estimator is to just go out there and do that. I'm with you there.
I get it.
But I think most contractors are griping about not selling at the right rates and wasting a lot of time. I mean, how much time is windshield time and revisions and all that stuff? So those are all kind of the reasons I wrote the book, because I'm tired of salespeople sucking, man.
Sure.
And I want them to win. And sales, I believe, is a perishable skill, like hitting a golf ball, firing a weapon, whatever. Like, if you're not practicing, your skills will diminish.
Yeah.
And role plays. I mean, dude, it's crazy. I was talking to a group of 200-300 contractors. I said, and they were mostly like their sales teams. This was a couple years ago. I said, who's done a role play in the last 7 days? Like 3 hands went up.
Wow.
I said, who's done a role play in the last 30 days? Like 8 hands went up. And there's like 200 contractors in a room. Like, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
How can you, I mean, if you're a golfer, you go to the range every day.
That's what I love about Battleground.
Mm-hmm.
It's you know, again, I've been sort of part of the group, you know, fly on the wall, if you will. But like, I mean, I'm part of a lot of these groups, and I've never seen a group like Battleground where it's not just, hey, show up and we're going to have a talk. It's like you actually are encouraging the members to find a time to meet and to role play.
Yeah.
And they're getting the reps in. You have facilitated a way for them to work out, you know, that
right.
sales skill, if you will. And I've never seen another group like it. And I can also tell you, like, from the members' perspective, like it has, like, they so many times I hear that single-handedly has helped them take their business to the next level. It's helped them to be able to close deals when they might not have otherwise even gotten past the first conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so I love your focus on sales, but also like practice makes perfect. You know,
Perfect practice makes perfect.
perfect practice makes perfect. I mean, so you can tell them all these things all day long, but like, and that's what happens on a lot of these coaching groups, right? Like, your coach tells you a bunch of stuff. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't, some of it gets implemented, some of it doesn't, you know, but like with your program, you're actually facilitating, concreting that new action, those new behaviors, those habits, you know, become second nature. And it's so much better for them to practice in a training facility than to practice on a real live, you know, prospect.
Bingo. We have every weekday, we have a live sales training role play call with one of our coaches. 5 days a week, unless it's a holiday in the United States. Then we have this whole role play portal, if you want to call it that, this tracker where members log in role plays. We have a whole belt system, like martial arts. You earn 14 points in your first 7 days in Battleground to get your green belt.
Nice.
So from the day you commit to doing your first role play, you got 7 days to get 14 points. And it's meant to be hard, right? Because you have to get that first level. We see a direct correlation. Yeah, we train on some marketing and numbers and leadership and all this other crap, right? I'm telling you, the number one thing, when I go down the roster of the hundreds of contractors that are in the program and go, he's making money, he's making money, he's making money. You go to the belt tracker, they're stacking role plays.
No.
It success leaves clues.
No.
Like, that's one of the clues. So yeah, every day you got to get like 200 points to get your black belt. You got to go through 2 levels of Tim and Derek, 2 of our 2 top sales coaches. And to your point, if you're not role playing and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, you're practicing on live clients.
Nope.
And it's costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as a contractor.
No.
And so we encourage on the we call it Agoge calls is what we call it. It's a training ground, Spartan training ground for young men. It was like the Agoge. And we're like, we're going to be hard on you. We're going to be the jerk customer, right? We're going to throw the objections in your face so that when you're doing it in real life, it's not like the first time you've been there.
No.
You know, when somebody says to me, like most of us, I used to do this. You go on the defensive when you get an objection. Like, you're a lot higher than the other contractors, right? Like, we all get that. Every business gets that. I used to defend. Well, you know, we got lots of experience and we won this award and, you know, overhead, you know, we got overhead and gas isn't cheap. And you just start justifying and defending. They don't want to hear that. And so one of the ways that I like to flip that, and this isn't meant to be done in a mean-spirited way, But why am I the one defending my position and my price? I want you to defend why you think that's that way. So I get this all the time. Like, hey, your price is way higher than the other guys. You need to acknowledge it, affirm it. Like, hey, man, I get it. You know, things always cost, you know, more than we think they should cost. You know, just out of curiosity, you know, what makes you say that we're too expensive? Now you have to defend it.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you know, Eric, I get that, man. You know, things, that's one of my go-to lines. Like when price is too, I'm like, yeah, you know, every time I go to buy something, it seems like it's more money than I want. I'm just curious, what do you think we should do next? What do you think our next move is? Sometimes they'll say, do you offer financing? Can we do the project in phases? It's not always a no.
Yeah.
But when you're putting your fists up and you're defending it and you're like trying to fight back and justify, totally changes the energy.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one? I got to think about it. God, choke me.
Indecision is the worst.
Yeah. You know, hey, Eric, you know, I get it. This is a big decision. It's not cheap. I'm cool with you thinking about it. But, you know, one of the things I found is when somebody tells me you have to think about it, they usually don't have the information that they need. And I feel like I might have dropped the ball on something here. What information do you feel like I missed that's important to you? It's collaborative.
Yeah.
And again, at the end of the day, I try to remove myself from the result being me winning.
Yeah.
When I sell. We have so many people that have joined our program like Battleground and stuff, dude, that I talked to when I was doing my own sales calls years ago that have joined the program because I didn't push them. They're like, it's not the right time. And I know there's a lot of sales guru trainers and crap out there that drive me crazy that are all macho and all this stuff. And they're all about like, you know, what is in the car industry, right? That you don't let the client leave the lot.
No. They drive off the lot. You're not
yeah,
gonna...
like, all right, I get it in one sense.
Yeah. But
I used to sell that way. I used to sell replacement windows and it was a total scam. And I felt icky.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually cool if you want to think about it. I can't tell you how many projects I've sold as a contractor, how many things I've sold in the fight because I kept the relationship strong because I didn't try to push you.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think, you know, again, it's when you quit just thinking in your own head and thinking about me, you know, what's best for me? How am I going to get the sale? And you stop and start listening and make it about the customer's experience. You know, I believe that the success of the project is going to be all about how the customer felt from the very moment they landed on your website, they picked up the phone, they first talked to you. Throughout that sales process, like you set the tone for the entire rest of the project.
mm-hmm.
You know, and so like I love how the approach isn't just like, you know, hey, we need to, you know how to combat everything. It's just, you're so good at helping them learn to just stop trying to mentally figure out, just ask them, flip it back to them.
Yeah.
Well, why do you feel like that? You know, well, what did I not give you enough information? Is there something that I could do to help you, you know, make this decision? Like, you know, it's just like listening. You know, and salespeople often just want to talk, and it's, you just got to stop.
Talking in the sales process is I believe, a reflection of your training. Like, and this isn't, I'm not playing like some psychological game here, but like, this is true. Like, if I'm talking, I'm losing in a sales relationship. Sure. Like, now there's appropriate times to talk, but most salespeople, they're bragging and they're making it about all the reasons you should buy from us, where it's about people buy for their reasons, not mine.
Yeah.
You know, so, hey, Eric, you know, you said you're talking to a couple other contractors and stuff. Totally get it. This is a big project. So, just out of curiosity, let's fast forward to the end of the kitchen remodel. And you're cutting a final check to somebody and they're driving off into the sunset after the job's done. How are you going to know you hired the right guy? That's their reasons.
Yeah.
Right? It's their reasons. I tell this story in the book where this guy's reason for hiring my painting company back in the day was he didn't want his wife to go through another experience where she had to babysit a group of grown men painting their house. Had nothing to do with price. And that's what most of us say. that aren't honest with ourselves. Like when somebody doesn't hire us, they're like, oh, they went with somebody cheaper. That's not always the case.
No.
You didn't connect, but when you connect, you command higher prices. And back to what we were talking about earlier about creating content. When you guys create more content, you're educating, you're positioning yourself as the expert in your industry.
Yeah.
And when you're positioned that way, you get less price resistance because people are already seeing the value. So all this works together in the sales process, man. But I get fired up about it because it's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It is so simple. Detach yourself from the outcome. I had a sales trainer years ago that was like, my whole goal is just in that conversation with a possible client is just to figure out if it makes sense for us to take the next step. Are we a good fit? So genuinely.
You know, I hear a lot of times when people are considering should they hire a coach or not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this fallacy of like, well, I can't afford it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or, you know, why, you know, I got all these other bills. How can I go and, you know, they view it as a luxury.
Yeah.
They view it as something that's, you know, just, you know, it's this like, you know, it's viewed as a cost instead of an investment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help a contractor understand that, you know, again, you can start off in the contractor business school, you know, you can get, you know, bump up to the Battleground. I mean, yeah, we're talking, you know, $1,000 for contractor business school, $8,000 for Battleground. You know, like how do you help them understand that, you know, this truly is an investment that will pay dividends?
Yeah. This is one of the crazy things about coaching. Okay. And I'll use a fitness example. If I join the gym, hire the trainer, get the workout, get the diet plan, and don't do it, that trainer was shitty. It's crazy, but like that and what we do is dependent on somebody doing the work.
Sure.
So it is only a waste of money that you can't afford if you're not going to do the work. So we count the costs with people. I'm like, Eric, you got to be willing to put in 3 to 5 hours a week on the training. Okay. You don't have to be on every call. We have a stupid amount of calls. We just talked about, we have daily sales. So you're not supposed to be there every day.
Sure.
But if you're not willing to implement, then you are wasting your money. So I tell people, like, if you're not really willing to do the work, then please don't do it. I will also say, though, for those that go, they can't afford it, you're already spending the money in your mistakes. You're lacking. That's been my experience. Like, I was already dropping 6 figures a year on crap that wasn't moving my business forward, you know? And then once I collapsed time and learned from somebody else and implemented those things, like, I stopped wasting the money and I was investing it, and then I was growing. So and that's like back to Battleground, for instance, it's like, call it $25 a day. You're already spending at least $25 a day as a contractor, driving to meet people in the sales process that you shouldn't, that aren't a good fit. You're already spending more than $25 a day because your numbers aren't right, because you have inefficiencies in the field. You're not job costing, you're not training your team. I mean, we can go on and on all day.
Can you afford not to?
Right. So, and that's what a lot of our long-time members will tell you. They're like, it would cost me money. We just had a guy, and I'm going to read this, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Sure. So we had a member, really good dude. He was in the program. This is fresh on my brain because it was last night. He posted it. He was in the program, and he was doing, he had grown from like $500,000 to 1.2, right? And then he left. And then the next 2 years, he did like 800 or under. Okay. He wasn't making as much money. And he just rejoined, and he goes, I want to share my experience with a potential high-end client. At first, he was so demanding and ready to send me to the bleachers. I asked for pictures, and he agreed with a little skepticism. Once I received them and studied them, I proceeded to make the call. He was in disbelief and how I was asking so many detailed questions and he kept demanding just to have me come by and that they were ready to move forward, which prospects lie to us, right? This guy was following our process. I made sure to continue taking control of the conversation. And once I asked permission to share numbers, and of course, you know it, You can give me a ballpark just with pictures. And I said, yep. Originally, my number is 18,758. I knew I had to add the PETA clause. That's a pain in the ass for those that don't know. And I final bid was 20,500. And by the way, he never went to the property. Without blinking, I have an appointment tomorrow to sign a contract and collect a 50% deposit with this guy. And this is why I'm back in this program, just in case you're wondering. Because he wasn't as sharp.
Sure.
And so we see it all the time. You've been in the group, you see what's going on. Like, I came here, I was selling 300 grand a year at no profit. And within 12 months, I was doing 2.5 at a 50% gross profit. Like, but they put the work in.
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting because, I obviously have a very unique vantage point where I can see across thousands of business.
right.
But like, and being part of the group, I know who's part of Battleground, right? Who's part of Contractor fighting with you guys. And like, I can see firsthand a direct correlation between them getting involved. And it usually will say it takes like a month or two, but then boom, like the trajectory of their business just shoots up.
Yeah.
And it's just so glaringly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times people just, they don't, they don't realize that they really are spinning their wheels and they're wasting a lot more time, or, we don't have to call it wasting, but like it takes them a lot longer to achieve those milestones in their business's growth because they're not efficiently operating and executing. They're just, and I'd be willing to bet if we would, go do a study that like directly looked at the people who implement and do the role plays, just like you said, the people that are putting it into action every day, I'll bet we would see an even stronger correlation between those and the performance. And again, like almost, I think all of the coaches, I mean, they've, that know them fairly well. They've been on JobTread. Like I can tell you, like they have just crushed it.
Yeah.
And they have crushed it by implementing and spending years of practicing. And now like they can afford to have the time to help others be able to achieve that same level of success. If that doesn't speak volumes for itself, the fact that they can now continue to run a multi-million-dollar businesses while helping others because they've seen how impactful that's been. I mean, it's just such a unique opportunity to get involved with those people that like you want to aspire to grow, to reach that level.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm so proud of the fight team. Like you're proud of yours here. Like I get the beauty of having the behind the scenes conversations. We'll have our monthly coaching team call where we just kind of get on the same page, and the conversations that happen there are like, dude, so-and-so is really struggling. He's got, like, we know you. He's got this is a group coaching program where we know you. Like, he's like, yeah, he's got some issues going on home with his wife. They're really struggling with this. And the conversation will be, how can we help this guy? For 20 minutes, 8 of us are going, how do we help Bill? That's what I'm so proud of our team. Like,
it's incredible.
I used to get mad at the coaches for this because I tried to set the expectation that this is not one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
Right. And no matter how I tried to get my coaches to stop reaching out to people individually because they care so much, they're just going to do it. And they basically told me to pound sand. They're like, dude, if we see somebody struggling, we're reaching out to them.
I mean, I think the entire community that you built embodies that. I mean, I have seen countless times, in the Battleground group and the Contractor fight group, even like where, anyone who is having some sort of personal life challenge, like you guys come out in full force, above and beyond, like bending over backwards to help lift that person up.
Yeah. Well, to your point, we have a guy, him. I'll keep it confidential because it's not a bad thing. I just don't want to draw attention to if he didn't want this. He's been in the program for years, grew from 500 grand a year making no money to like 3 point something now, where his accountant's like, dude, you're making too much cash. All right, swear to God. Like this, he told me, like he screenshots me his bank account and his net worth and all that. It's crazy. I found out about 2 or 3 months ago, him and I were having a conversation. He's a member. He's a member. Not a coach yet. He spends an average of almost 30 hours a month calling struggling members in the group.
Wow.
And just offering an ear and counsel. He's an older dude, great guy, and just loving him. That's like, at the risk of sounding cheesy, like, if somebody were to be like, what's the difference between the fight and everything else? I'd be like, we love you in an uncommon way. We truly love. Sometimes it's a tough love, right? But, and I know we do a lot of yelling and screaming on the podcast and this and that. I'm a teddy bear. I really am. I just care so much.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by the DNA of the fight. Even the members are like so loving and giving to each other, man. I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I am truly blown away by that community.
I mean, I gotta believe though, it starts with you. You've set the tone, and I know you. I know that you would reach out to anyone that you knew was going through a hard time. You know, you've even coined this whole, UITs, unintentional touches.
Yeah.
Just reaching out to people, checking in with them, showing them that you actually value them, you care about them, you've built a relationship with them, you want to know how they're doing, how are things going. And look, sometimes that may result in more business getting done, but like, it's because you care, Tom. It's, you wear your heart on your sleeve just like I do, and we're passionate people.
I appreciate that.
And I think that has, that is the inspiration for this whole community, and it's set the tone for everyone. So I'm not surprised in the least to hear about that.
Well, yeah, sometimes that heart of the sleeve gets us in trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
But like, just so you know, I'm not kidding. Yesterday, 7:45 p.m., right?
Yeah.
I landed here in Dallas. I text this couple. I go, it's Reber, just thinking about you guys and praying for you. We love you. He replies, thank you. That means a lot to us. We feel the love and the prayers, and they're great. They're going through a hard time. We're grateful to have people like you in our corner hole ball as well. I said, you two have been on my mind like crazy recently. I said, things are good here. Actually, just got to Dallas to speak to JobTread. Let's talk sometime soon. And he's like, got it. Like, this is, people are like, what do you do in your time working, Tom? Like, one of the things I've learned, like, yeah, I have a plan for the day and stuff, but when I've learned that when somebody shows up on my mind, that's a sign for me to reach out. And this couple, literally over the last couple days, they've been in and out of my mind. And I actually probably took 2 days too long to send that message. And then I'm on the plane coming here, and I thought about them again. I got a lot of things that are tough. I've just been on my mind. Like, I pray for our members. I pray for our coaches. I pray for our community. Like this morning, I got up and went for a run, before I came over here, and did some calisthenics and stuff outside in this crazy thing you have here called humidity, and felt good. But it feels good on my joints, actually. It's nice as you're getting older. But like, I will spend, like, I'm just going, I'm like, oh, so-and-so member. And I'll just be like, God, I don't know what he's going through, but you put him on my head just now. I just thought of the person. Help them. I pray for the people on my team. I pray for our vendors. I pray, like, for our industry. I literally do. Like, I feel like my life is just an ongoing prayer, if that makes sense. Like, I don't go like 30 minutes a day or whatever it is. Just as I am going throughout the day, I'm realizing I really don't have any clue what I'm doing. One of the things I told the team, I'm closing the loop here, man. Because I squirrel out on this. I told our team that if we're going to be accused for anything, let's never be accused for anyone out loving us the way we love our people.
No,
like each other. And listen, we drop the ball, we bump heads, internally with our team, we don't always agree on things.
Sure.
Man, I've had some real knock them out, drag them out times with some of our coaches, and where we didn't see eye to eye. But you know what? The more open and honest you are with each other, you can trust each other.
Yeah.
Because there's no BS.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I learned when I partnered many years ago with Steve Schinholzer when we started the Contractor Sales Academy. Our first conversation about, he says, I don't know if we're going to do anything, but we do anything, you need to make a vow to me right now that we will never BS each other. Like, I don't care how ugly it is, we need to be able to speak our mind now. And so anyway, man, I just get fired up about this stuff. So
look, it's it's awesome to just, again, be able to spend this time with you. I mean, if you've built something that really is very incredible, the impact of what, just these ideas and these, podcasts and videos that, you started many years ago, just putting out there, and if just the consistency and the devotion to continuing to do that. I mean, like that is exactly what this industry needs, is more role models that are showing people and giving them the belief that they can do it. When they don't believe in themselves and they don't have anyone else around them, like saying you can do it, you can be successful, you can build a business. Like, I mean, that's when the world goes to shit. Yeah. But you are there being that voice, sometimes a loud voice, sometimes having to yell at people, but people need this wake up call, and it's, but it's a wake up call with love. Yeah. It's a wake up call with you genuinely want the best for people. And there's no question about that, and I think it's just been really neat to see the community that has formed around you and to see other people embodying that and leading without you even needing to hire them or needing to ask them to lead, and helping others. Like that truly is a sign of greatness. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, that's what this industry needs. I mean, I say it all the time, but a rising tide lifts all boats. That is exactly what we need to bring back, the dignity to the trades, and to help them be respected, and to help everyone understand that they're earning their keep, and they deserve to make good money. They deserve to be able to spend the time with their families. They deserve to be able to have teams who can also go home and eat and live happily and healthy and financially stable. And I think that's this spark that you created many years ago, to see it continuing to grow is just really exciting. And, I'm excited for all the JobTread community to keep partnering with you and to keep working with your program, because I believe that, again, you got to have, the right guidance, the right leadership, vision, direction. You got to have the right tools, and then you got to put it into action. And, at the end of the day, I think, this is something that just, it really is making a big impact. And I appreciate you and everything you've done to make this such a success.
Can you say all that again? Because that was really nice. So, and I really appreciate that. It's, it's funny. It's on my heart to share this, because one of the things I hear from a lot of clients from time to time is man, I'm working so hard to build this business, and then my top guy leaves and goes starts another business. You know what I'm saying? And so they don't want to invest in their people. They don't want to train. They don't want to whatever. I'm saying this because like I said, when something's on my heart, I just got to say it. So maybe somebody listening to this, it applies, right? So many of my direct competitors now and their coaching teams, we trained. And there was a point in time, I want to give Neil, our CEO, some credit on this, where it was starting to rub me the wrong way. I was getting a little too scarcity minded about it or whatever. And he called me on it. And this goes back to the vision. You talked about you have to have a strong why and a vision and all this other stuff. And he said, well, Tom, if it's really your vision to bring respect and dignity back to the trades, then wouldn't you be happy that you're producing all these other competitors and leaders? Oh. And it was like a gut punch, man, because I'm like, is my vision really valid or not? And listen, I'm plenty human, and there are times where it bothers me because I'm competitive, right? But just having those relationships in your life where, somebody can tell you the truth. Like, dude, I'm calling BS. You say it's about respect and dignity. You create all this, what Myron Golden calls the free content. He calls it community service. He says it's not free because you got to spend time consuming it. And I love that. He's like, you do all this to help people. So why would you care if there were more competitors out there on a similar mission trying to help contractors get better? So for everybody that's listening, that's like, you're trying to grow and scale your team. I've had this happen. Top guy leaves, whatever. They go start their own thing. Support them. right? You don't have to be best friends. I get that. But like, I don't badmouth them. I want them to succeed because if the mission is truly, I mean, dude, they're like we were talking before, there's so many people in this world to help. Yeah. The ego in me would love to serve them all. Yeah. But I know I'm not a fit for everybody. People don't like my language, and they don't like my face. They don't like the foundational principles that we coach on. Totally cool, right? You're going to resonate with somebody, so get help. Yeah. So for whatever that's worth, man.
No, I totally agree. It's, and I tell people, look, you got to go find your tribe, and the tribe wants people who are going to be a good fit, and you want to find the right tribe where you're a good fit. And it's about kind of making those matches. And, at the end of the day, it's, same thing. I mean, if for us, if another competitor's product is better, suited for them, then we tell them. And at the end of the day, maybe one day we'll be able to be in a position to help you, but it's like, I'd rather, save their time and money and point them in the right direction. I think, when people focus more on just doing what's right, creating, just helping people learn and just, giving the education, giving things away without expecting anything in return. I feel like that just always seems to come back, tenfold later, when you just do right by others, it brings more and more, people to you. And that's, case in point, Contractor 5 with over 20,000 people, millions of views and just all of the audience that keeps coming right back, to consume the content and the training and to listen to the message that you've given them. I mean, it's clearly making a huge impact. And, whether they sign up for a program here or there, like, right, the bigger picture is like the impact that you've made is just tremendous.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. And appreciate the support, the relationship we have. And again, super proud of what you're doing here, man, at JobTread. You're killing it. I'm proud. And I know I challenged you today in my talk. I'm like, I'm going to call Eric out. You guys are rising. And I'm like, don't you get comfortable. I know you wouldn't, but I knew if I picked on the top dog in the room, they'd get the message. Yeah. So, because you took it well, you were like, I'm with you, man. No. Like, and they need to see that, right? Like, it's easy to go, oh, you've arrived. The minute you think you've arrived, I think you're done. No. So, it's been good, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, great talking, Tom.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.